The Denver Broncos' free agent haul just keeps getting better and better. While some Raiders fans are feeling down about their uneventful offseason, we've got some exciting updates to discuss, including some much-needed support for Bo Nix, plus great news from the draft. In this video, we'll break all of it down, so stick around. For those who are new here, I'm a die-hard Denver Broncos fan, and if you love the Broncos as much as I do, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button to support the channel. Going into this offseason, it was clear that we needed to add a linebacker, and at the top of many fans' wish list was someone who could anchor an already impressive defense. It seemed like a long shot, but the hope was that the Broncos could land a player who could elevate our linebacker core to elite status, kind of like the impact of Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw for the San Francisco 49ers a couple of years ago when they took that defense to the Super Bowl. Well, Fred Warner recently made headlines by praising his fellow linebacker Dre Greenlaw, saying that Greenlaw's potential is still untapped. According to Warner, Greenlaw has yet to hit his peak, and his best days are still ahead of him. Warner even went on to say that he wouldn't be the player he is today without Greenlaw's presence alongside him. Now, that's high praise. So the question becomes, who will step up to pair with Greenlaw in Denver? Could it be Alex Singleton, Jonas Griffith, or maybe even an addition like Bentley, following the recent injury to the linebacker core and his release from the Patriots? Regardless of who we bring in, there's no doubt that whoever lines up next to Greenlaw will benefit from his leadership and skill. And here's the icing on the cake. The San Francisco 49ers tried everything to keep Greenlaw, offering him more money and sending Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to meet with him personally. Despite their best efforts, Greenlaw chose to sign with the Broncos, proving that what Denver is building here is legit. This is a big moment for the Broncos, especially considering the narrative that the team might be on the decline or that last year's improvements were just a fluke. When you have figures like Shanahan and Lynch who know exactly what Greenlaw brings to the table, failing to convince him to stay, it speaks volumes about the direction the Broncos are heading. Yes, the Achilles injury is a concern, but we've seen what this Broncos' training staff can do with players coming off injuries, and I'm confident they'll get Greenlaw back to top form. If the 49ers, who were monitoring Greenlaw's recovery every step of the way, couldn't persuade him to stay, it's clear that Denver is on the right track. When it comes to Dre Greenlaw's future, his former teammate Fred Warner knows exactly what he's still capable of, and the 49ers were desperate to keep him. Ultimately, this signing becomes one of the best moves of the entire NFL offseason. One of my favorite points came from Bob, an optimistic Broncos fan, who pointed out that in the past 8 years, no player would have come to Denver for less money until now. This just shows that what the Broncos are building is something special, and it should make us incredibly optimistic. It feels similar to when Emmanuel Sanders was getting courted by the Kansas City Chiefs, only to decide to come play with Peyton Manning. It's the same story now. You've got Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch at your door, offering more money, and yet Dre Greenlaw chose to play for Sean Payton. That's exciting. It's proof that what Payton is building is something players want to be a part of. Jeff Duncan recently made a great point when he said Sean Payton is an elite recruiter. When he sets his sights on a player, he usually gets him. That's why I'm not worried about missing out on players like Cooper Kupp or Stephon Diggs. Sean Payton has shown that when he's after someone, he'll land them. So for whoever the Broncos target next, even with some cap space still left to play with, I'm confident they'll choose Denver over other offers. This isn't just orange and blue Kool-Aid. Look at Evan Engram's decision to join the Broncos or Greenlaw's choice to come to Denver. If Payton wants a player, they'll come to Denver. This is an exciting time. Now, looking across the division, the Vegas Raiders are in a tough spot. The mood over there is noticeably sour, and you can see it in their fan base. One of the biggest fan accounts for the Raiders came out saying that they entered this offseason with so much optimism. They thought, yeah, we're last in the division, but we have a high draft pick and the second most cap space in the league. Fast forward to now, and the Broncos have made significant moves, bringing in 3 all-pro players despite having Russell Wilson's dead cap money hanging over us. On the other hand, the Raiders, most casual NFL fans probably couldn't even name who they ended up with in free agency. They took a chance on an aging quarterback the Seahawks were ready to move on from, and they lost out on 2 key linebackers. Even their own fans are questioning the decisions being made. There was even a point where it seemed like the Raiders might land Matthew Stafford, and honestly, that made me nervous. If they had gotten Stafford, Pete Carroll, Brock Bowers, and some solid draft picks like Ashton Genty, that could have made the division even tougher. But instead, it's just more of the same for the Raiders. I'm feeling a lot more confident now, and it seems like even the Raiders' own fans are starting to feel the same way. Heading into the offseason, they had more cap space than all but the Patriots, but they still ended up walking away from it without making a real splash. Free agency is a time when players get to choose where they want to go, and it's about more than just money. It's about picking a winning culture, a team that takes care of their players and focuses on their health. That's why having one of the richest ownership groups in all of sports is so important. It's a key factor in everything the Broncos are building. Switching gears to NFL draft news, here's something exciting we should all be rooting for. The more quarterbacks that go in the top 20, the better chance the Broncos have of landing a major steal. Our quarterback situation is solid, so the idea of seeing 3 quarterbacks selected early in the draft is thrilling. It means players we need, like Ashton Genty, Tyler Warren, or Colston Lynn, could fall to us, and that would be huge. Looking at the draft landscape, we already know that Caleb Williams will likely be the number 1 pick, and Shatter Sanders will go top 5. If Jackson Dart can somehow sneak into the top 20, that would be incredible. A bunch of early picks for offensive linemen and cornerbacks could also work in the Broncos' favor, as it would leave other top players available when Denver's turn comes up. This would give us a fantastic opportunity to grab a real gem. Speaking of Jackson Dart, there's some buzz around the Steelers possibly picking him at 21. He had an impressive pro day at Ole Miss, showcasing his strong arm and off-platform throwing ability. His style reminds me a bit of Patrick Mahomes, dynamic, with the ability to make plays outside the pocket. It's not too dissimilar to Zach Wilson's pro day hype a few years ago, where everyone was in love with his throws, especially his off-balance ones. If the Steelers take Dart or another team trades up to grab him before Denver's pick, it could really be the best-case scenario for the Broncos. Every player picked ahead of us who isn't a fit for our needs means that one more player we do need, in a position we do need, will be available to us. It's a great time to be a Broncos fan, and I'm incredibly optimistic about what's ahead.